I'd like to call the school board meeting for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2016 for the Moline Public Schools to order. Please take the roll.
Ms. Langford?
Here.
Ms. Elsbernd?
Here.
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Barron?
Here.
Ms. Caldwell-Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Newcomb?
Here.
Ms. Boson?
Here.
First item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda? A motion by Ms. Caldwell-Johnson, a second by Ms. Anderson. Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from January 19th, 2016?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Newcomb, second by Ms. Boson. Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is district recognitions.
Since we left our
Thank you. Understandable given the weather today. Next item on the agenda is the list of consent items. We allow any person the opportunity to speak to the board for up to 5 minutes following the presentation of an agenda item. If anyone wishes to speak to an agenda item, please go to the information desk to sign up. Remarks must be germane to the agenda, and we ask that you avoid reference to personalities and character attacks, as those types of comments serve no productive purpose. As a reminder to the board and public, the board will not engage in discussion or deliberation with the speaker regarding comments made to agenda items. Discussion and deliberation will remain among board members at the board table, with speakers' comments informing said discussion, deliberation, and determinations as deemed necessary. We appreciate your input. Ms. Caldwell-Johnson, do you have the motion?
I do. I move that the board approve the consent items in accordance with the recommended action for each item on the consent agenda, including bills previously authorized, certified, and approved for payment by the board secretary in the amount of $5,973,774.44, and P-card transactions in the amount of $500,869.85.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Boson. Motion by Ms. Caldwell-Johnson. Any discussion? Please vote.
good energy.
Got to bring it every night. Motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Specifically, item E1, public hearing for mechanical upgrades or updates at Moulton Elementary School. Public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to item E1, public hearing for mechanical updates for Moulton Elementary School? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Dr. Ahart, would you please introduce the matter?
I recommend the board approve the plans for mechanical upgrades at Moulton Elementary School following the public hearing.
May I please have a motion and a second to approve?
Move approval.
Motion by Ms. Caldwell-Johnson, second by Ms. Anderson. I do not believe that we have a presentation for this item.
Nope.
So please vote. Motion is approved, 7-0. Next item on our agenda is item F1, eminent domain for 1416 Fremont Street. We do have a speaker to this item. I believe our speaker is currently out of the room. Ms. Pendleton, would you go grab them?
Mr. Good is in the process of getting everything worked out and wondered if maybe
I believe we can. I think, yes. There's no active motion on item F1. So given that the property owner is here in discussion with the administration, we'll move past items F1 and F2 to allow that discussion to continue to unfold and move on to item F3, which is a discussion item. It is our board 2016 work plan. The attachment for this week is no different than the one that was attached to this item at our January 19th meeting. To review for the folks at home, the board has committed to a work plan for which steps have been laid out for the first 3 meetings. The work plan is based around building greater community engagement. Specifically, the Des Moines School Board will improve community engagement through intentional and innovative activities with the one goal of increasing student achievement through educating more members of the community on their and our roles and responsibilities, and through conveying the successes and realities of our students' educational experiences. I think what we will do, knowing that certain amounts of work have been done on this, is I will walk through the steps and ask the lead or chair for those pieces to brief us on where we are, what has happened to date, and what the next step is. And if there's any discussion or clarification around date by which we would like this information provided, we can have that discussion as we walked it through this item. So first thing was a calendar of action, which I did and presented to the board on the 8th and had ready for board discussion on the 19th. The third item, so the next item on this is researching effective community engagement strategies. And the idea was to create a document with no fewer than 5 relevant community engagement best practices with sources and share it with the board. And Ms. Newcomb's been leading that subcommittee. Can you provide us an update and let us know what your next steps are?
Sure. We have not had the opportunity to meet, and due to my fault, I was unavailable for a week. So we have scheduled a meeting for this Sunday. Sorry, this Sunday. So we'll be meeting then and have more for you at the next meeting.
Do you believe you'll be able to bring a document with no fewer than 5 relevant community engagement best practices by the next meeting?
Oh, definitely.
Great. For you and for everyone, I'll remind folks, because it is my intention to have this work plan be an active discussion item for all or most board meetings as it evolves and as items are added to it. So this will be a place to bring your document back and any other subcommittee products back. And in order to have them on the agenda, per our board policies, they have to be submitted with a week in advance. So in this case, we would need to have something absolutely no later than the 9th of February, preferably the 8th, just so we can make sure it gets in there. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Committing to additional professional development for the board is the next piece of this. I think this is a piece that we all feel is significant, and I know there's some work planned for this Saturday on that, but specifically, Connie was leading a subcommittee to create a board professional development calendar for 2016. That includes no fewer than 4 retreats, and to share it with the board and create a list identifying no fewer than 3 possible individuals or organizations for the board to work with Can you, Connie, give us an update on that work?
A couple of were able to meet, and we submitted a plan, the first plan, and then we have had some additions, and we're going to meet again, the three of us, to kind of refine it in more detail. But I think we have a pretty good structure for the year that we sent on a game plan on what we think would be for good professional development and help the board. We kind of put together the year, but then also realizing that an election year might entail some different training and professional development. So we've kind of put that together too. So in the year that there's an election, you'll even do more, but this is kind of a guideline. So we have each month laid out what we think would be a good practice to use and good items to come up to would enhance our training and give us more knowledge and be a more effective board. So again, we want to revise a little more, tweak it a little more, and then we'll be able to present it probably. We even talked about, this week meeting, so we'll be able to get it really to you maybe even by Saturday, hopefully, so that we'll have maybe something we can go over Saturday, if it's agreeable with the rest of my committee here. Yeah, so I mean, we were just thinking we might get done earlier tonight or this week, I think we talked about, so we can have more discussion. But we definitely have, I think, a good framework. I think, we've got some additions that look good too to add, so I think we're in pretty good shape. Maybe on speakers and things like that, or who would come in and help, that we might need help of the whole, more of the group, so. Right.
Good. I think also, so to kind of bring people back, the purpose of these subcommittees is to be able to do multiple pieces of work at the same time without having to engage the full board. The limit of these subcommittees, although I think it's good practice, is that none of them can take action on the behalf of the board because it's all less than a majority. So what is freeing for you all, and the reason I bring it up for all of us, is we're bringing product back for the full board to discuss and edit and amend as we wish. So nothing will probably come back pristine and perfect. We'll edit it and work on it as a board before we agree on it. Great, thank you. Next item, Legislative Education Advisory or Advocacy Committee, and that is Cindy. Can you give us a report on
Sure.
that work?
We had a kickoff meeting this past Sunday here in the multipurpose room, and had about 8 people come, as well as 4 board members, and had a good discussion. It was basically an introductory meeting about the committee's purpose and structure, what our legislative priorities are, kind of emphasizing that the purpose of the committee is to focus in on the Des Moines Schools legislative priorities, knowing that we have some things that are unique to our district that we want folks to help us advocate for. We have scheduled the next 3 Sundays at 1 p.m. in this room, with the next meeting to hear more from staff, more information from staff about the legislative priorities and how they stand to impact the district. And we would love to spread the word. The idea is to have at least 1 parent and 1 student from each feeder pattern on the committee. The committee meetings are open to the public, and there's a number of ways that people can plug in. So we've gotten off to a good start.
Can
Excuse me.
Please.
I
Ms.
just want to
Anderson.
give Cindy a compliment. It was really well put together, and I felt like the people who were there were really focused and want to get something done for the district, so it was great.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing the effort. And we have some other things in the works as far as getting our priorities into a more digestible format for people so that they have talking points and can really go out and explain it.
Great. Thank you for your work there. Next 2 items, really actually the next 3 items deal with the policies that provide the framework and through which we work. and there are two specific policy points that had been elevated by members of the board for which there have been ad hoc committees assigned. And then the third one was moving of a discussion on policy governance. And I'll have some things to say about the third one. First, I'll turn it over to Deanna for an update on her efforts to create a recommendation concerning the board staff interaction policy.
Sure. So starting the process of reaching out to different, it's kind of ironic, reaching out to staff to see how they feel about the policy themselves. And then Natasha and Heather and I will be meeting on this Friday before our staff meeting to kind of come back together and talk about what we've learned and bring something to you by the 8th.
Okay. One small piece on that, and you did email me today. I didn't have a chance to reply back to you, but
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have put Heather in there, yeah.
the subcommittee membership that we agreed to at the board table, not agreed to, but that we signed was yourself, Natasha, and me.
Yes.
I would like to be
Still a part of that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll have to look at a new time then.
Yeah. So, and again, the purpose of these committees, the structure is to not build a committee that is a voting majority, but rather a group of folks that can work on the issue. So let's find a time when we can all meet and again provide a recommendation to the board in writing no later than the 9th.
Sure, that was my public, I could publicly say that I made a mistake in identifying who was on our board, so I'd been communicating with the wrong board member, Heather instead of Rob, so public apology. We'll find a new time.
And I just offered, since we're on one that's kind of similar, maybe if you didn't want to, I would take your place just so we could, the three of us could meet to kind of get those two items taken care of. That was the reasoning, but totally you can do it.
Sure, I appreciate it. Good. Well, I'm glad we'll have something for the next meeting. Heather was leading a subcommittee on creating a recommendation for the board's consideration on the board member conflict of interest policy. Can you give us an update on those efforts?
Yeah, we're actually meeting Friday afternoon, and we should be able to have something before the 9th for you to present.
You will have something by the 9th?
As far as I would assume that we could get it done, yeah. I mean, I'll let you know if something, I'll see you Saturday. So I'll let you know if I didn't. I don't foresee that we can't get it done, so. Okay.
Can you commit to getting it done by the 9th?
I can commit to, yeah, because it's a working document, so yeah, I'll get it done and then we can work on it together, I guess. Yeah.
Great.
You want a commitment? Yes,
I do.
I'll get it done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The next item on our work is would have been a discussion of editing policy governance manual this evening, and committee to do either make no changes, make edits, or scrap it and get something new. That was initially on the board agenda for this meeting. I moved it because the two pieces that had already been addressed and raised up were not ready. What is my intent to do, and what I'll talk to Superintendent and Terry and Thomas about tomorrow, is actually adding and putting this discussion on for our March meeting, which is really just a meeting after the next meeting. We only have one meeting in March, and it's my intent at that time to have a conversation and make some action. I do want action on policy governance at that March meeting, and the appropriate action would be to send something to the policy governance subcommittee if there's a change, and then at that point, I really want to start moving on. A lot of our work right now on this chart is, I would say, inwardly focused. And to a certain extent, our work needs to be inwardly focused because we're volunteers, and we're in effect learning these roles as we are inhabiting them. But our charge, and I think the desire that we all have when we join this board, is to do great things relative to student achievement. And the time and energy that we spend focused on our collective function or health really only, well, in some cases, essential, detracts from any time or energy that we can spend focused on our kids. And I know that every single one of us wants to be in that place. So what I'm committing to at the table right now, in no form of action, but committing to publicly with all of you all, is to continue to bring things up as they and address things relative to our internal development, but address them and move on from them expeditiously, so that we can come to a full board consensus and then continue our work of really impacting student achievement. And that is how I intend to act in my role as chair for the next 7 months, and take any questions on that.
Prime goal has always been, should be student achievement. And I think we need to learn our roles, and we need to do the homework, and we need to get our work done that you've asked us to do in the time, so that we can keep moving forward. So I appreciate having the calendar to schedule, and that you did extend it for us, so that we can, we just need to get to it and get stuff scheduled.
Ms. Anderson?
I agree with Connie. It's nice when everyone gets their work done and replies to emails and et cetera. And I think that if we get back on track, that would be awesome. And student achievement is number one, that's for sure. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate your putting together the work plan as well, and everybody's commitment to it. So thanks.
The only note I'll make on the work plan is I will continue to add to it and submit it around to my colleagues as we start to move through these items. I will stick with, because this is going to be a consistent agenda item, I will stick with having something submitted a week in advance per our policies. It's my intention, getting back to this policy governance manual, this is really a conversation that started before this board had even been seated, and really has not been effectively addressed, and that's not good for our health, and that's not good for the efficacy of each of you as board members, to feel as though issues that you may have are not taken up and addressed and dealt with. So this is a big one, and we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna decide on our next action, and then we're gonna keep moving. And that will be how I will deal with anything going forward here. So thank you. Any further discussion on the board work plan for 2016? All right, hearing none, I will move back to item F1, which is eminent domain for 1416 Fremont Street, and I will allow the superintendent to address this item.
Yes, our Chief Operations Officer, Bill Good, was able to have a discussion with the owners of the property, and we feel like an alternative arrangement has been agreed to in spirit. So we would like to suspend this action, and we'll come back at a later date with a different action.
Appreciate it. So there'll be no action on eminent domain, either F1 or F2 this evening. We have to motion to table.
I don't think you have to table it. You can
Right.
just defer it to a
Just-
future agenda when there is action to take.
Okay, great. So, per my vice chair, who's always got a good grasp on all these different moving games, we will defer action until the administration comes back with a recommendation. So at that point, we can move to items of privilege and the chair's report. I do not have a report this evening. So I'll turn things over to Dr. Ahart.
Okay, well, timely that the board had its first legislative action committee meeting this past Sunday. I'm very anxious to see how much engagement we can get. The fight, I use that term intentionally, on the Hill is another challenging one, and made a little bit more challenging this year because of it being an election year. And it's the second year of this Congress, so everybody knows one another and kind of knows where they stand, and things seem a little bit more entrenched on some of the issues that are of most import to us. Had an extensive conversation this week, again this afternoon, about movement on the sunset of the statewide penny. There's some interesting things brewing, but at least the door's at least been cracked open to actually have a discussion about removing the statewide penny, which, another example tonight, we had one public hearing, $1.38 million on improvements at Moulton. These are not flashy things that we're lavishing our district with. We have beautiful old buildings that we take excellent care of, but that takes some resources. And I think this district is an excellent model for the state to look at, that we do make exceedingly good use of these resources, and we need to keep the best conditions for learning for our kids and for our staff. We need that continued resource, and we're bumping up against that resource ending already this year. We'll end our bonding capacity. We'll ask for board action sometime later this spring, and then we'll be done unless they move that sunset. So that's a very important issue. I'll get more clarity around that for the legislative committee too, because that is one that probably will see some sort of serious discussion in the legislature, and we want to make sure we're well poised to have the right information in our legislators' hands. I want to congratulate our community for the really incredible turnout at the caucuses last night. What a wonderful model for our students. That's one of the primary reasons that we exist, is to create an educated citizenry so that they can be active participants in this great American experiment called democracy. Sometimes it feels like it doesn't work real well, but last night I thought Iowa represented itself very, very well in the eyes of the country, and it certainly is a benefit for our students to see splashed all over the TV hundreds and hundreds of our parents and families actively participating in this process. Hugely, hugely important. So congratulations and thank you to our greater community. And we had our first snow day today, and it couldn't have been timed much worse in terms of having to make a decision as to whether to call school or not. So we like to make those decisions earlier, but Bill and I were up most of the night trying to figure out what the best course of action was. There wasn't enough clarity. Again, up very, very early this morning, and you read the information, you look out the window and walk outside and nothing is happening, and you don't want to make a call if we don't have to, because if for no other reason, that a lot of our students are reliant, and our families are reliant on the schools for ensuring that they get at least 2 warm meals. But we really felt like the risk wasn't worth it today, and I think probably less than any other time, I've gotten almost no feedback on the decision. So maybe that means it was the right one. I don't know. But our kids were safe at any rate. I've been counting my blessings so far this year, because we've had a few significant storms, but they've been timed very well. But that certainly wasn't the case today. So I think that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything for Ms. Anderson?
Hi, I just wanted to thank the entire district for just the amount of energy and work that they put into holding the caucuses at all the different schools. And I was at Greenwood, and I ended up staying late, and we were stacking chairs, and I just thought, wow, it's just so much work, and that was just the stacking chairs, and I know there's so much more than that, but it was really neat to see like seniors there participating for the first time in the caucuses, and my son, including one of them, rode a skateboard up and was on the other side, but that's okay. But it was a really neat experience, and I was proud to be a part of such a great district, so thank you.
That's great. All right. Thank you all. I will adjourn this meeting.